Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of Home Service Success TV. Back with another great guest today. Here I have Ted Puzio with Southern Trust Home Services. They service Roanoke, Virginia, and the surrounding areas. I've had the pleasure of getting to know Ted over the last, I guess it's been a year to a year and a half now. And and Ted is just an amazing guy. I mean, he's so. Actually, Ted, we didn't talk about this before the interview, but here's something that I've learned about Ted that I think is really cool, and maybe we'll actually talk about this. Is every time I have an interaction with Ted, most of the time we're away from his office, away from his shop, and he's always very present. He's always very calm. He's always very relaxed. Where we all know the people that we've met where they're always looking at their phone and they think about this and they always got problems at the office and all this stuff. I mean, Ted, you're just like, you're focused in, you're paying attention, you seem relaxed. And that's a really cool quality about you that I guess I noticed and maybe never vocalized before. So we're here with Ted Puzio today. Ted, tell us just a little bit about your business, kind of who you are, what you do.
Myself by trade, I'm an electrician. I've been in the electrical business 36 years. Business for myself for about a little over 21 years. Started out doing straight residential commercial work, and then when I went business for myself was residential new construction with some commercial service, and started running into some issues with builders. I don't know if you want me to share that.
Yeah, go for it, man. I mean, just get right into it.
I had to get real creative.
How'd you get into this?
My collection side, where I camped out on a builder's lawn with the bonfire till the deputies came, got my money. He owed me $25,000. Another one owed me $15,000. I showed up with a 9mm at his house, and that was, I think, the changing point in my life when he opened the door, looked at me, looked at the gun in my hand, and his eyes bulged out and the light bulb went off in my head. And I said, boy, oh boy, I'm going to hurt somebody. I can't do this crap. So I started shifting gears. And again, we were just electrical back then. And we started building up the residential service and then pulling back on the new construction to where we were able to start running residential service electrical at that point. With the commercial, we still had some accounts. We had about 14 Walmart stores, about 20-some food lines, and about a dozen of the Sheetz fuel stations. So over the course of time, we started phasing them out and pulling them out completely because our flat rate pricing didn't work with them, and we were barely breaking even when we were working for them. So built it up enough to where we were doing well on the electrical side. Plumbing, I was giving to a plumbing contractor who, come to find out, he was doing electrical work. So basically I was giving work away. So I went back to school, about 8 years ago, and got my master's plumber's license. And first year we had 3 trucks of plumbing running full time, wide open. So we had to hire more people on plumbing side. HVAC, same thing happened. I was giving HVAC work to another fellow that I thought we had a mutual agreement, handshake agreement, where he was supposed to be giving me HVAC and I was giving him my electrical. Well, here I'm running TV commercials, and my TV generator spot was on the beginning of the commercial break and his was on the end of the commercial break selling generators. I said, the hell with this. Excuse me. I ended up going back to school and get my master's license in gas and HVAC. So now we do it all under one roof. So we're running only about a dozen service trucks right now is what we're doing.
That's cool, man. So I actually didn't know that last part about you. That you kept going back to school yourself to getting these different certifications for different services. So let's go back to when, you were doing a bunch of commercial and you started to focus, you started to realize that you needed to focus more on the residential because that's really where you wanted to be and you didn't have to deal with the collections as much and stuff like that. Here's something else that I just realized that's different about you. I think a lot of guys and girls running, home service businesses, they are doing something similar to what you are, right? So they're great at electrician, they're great, they're a great plumber, but I think they're concerned maybe about bringing in multiple trades. So they're farming out that work. I mean, how did you make the decision to bring on those other trades, and what types of fears or roadblocks did you run up against, and how did you get over those?
I had some basic knowledge in plumbing and basic knowledge in HVAC, and the old saying, know enough, know enough to get myself in trouble. I was a building inspector in the county here years ago, so I had some basic knowledge, and that helped. Not enough to get me in the truck and doing it myself, but enough to know that it flows downhill and the process of heat pump systems. That's where I needed the trained professionals working for me. My general manager was in business for himself for 20 years in plumbing and electrical, so that helped on the plumbing side where he handles all that. And then I have a lead guy on the HVAC side who was a service manager for a company in Tucson, so that helps on that side for the technical problems, technical people. And I always felt, I've heard it from different coaches I had over the years, the owner or I am only as good as the people I surround myself with. I have to hire smarter people than me, and I found that works. And you can't be intimidated by people that are smarter than you with the knowledge, the trade knowledge, or even office knowledge.
Kind of goes back a little bit to that, what I talked about you in the beginning. I mean, I would tie that in with being humble. And I think a lot of people in this industry, as they're trying to grow, might not have that same experience. So you recognize that there's people that are better at certain things than you, and you started bringing them in. And did you initially have any issues with that? Like, did you have to overcome anything when you started bringing these guys or girls in that were smarter than you, or did you just realize, look, they're great at what they do, I got to support them?
Oh, hell yeah. I just got to support them and get more of them. That's all. No, I didn't have a problem with it whatsoever.
Awesome, man.
Thankful for everybody I found.
Awesome, man. I think that's a huge point for anybody watching this is, look, it's okay to support people that are smarter than us. Most of the time as business owners and entrepreneurs, we're good at like one, maybe two things, and we got to find experts in all the other areas.
And don't be afraid to say you don't know it. Could you guide me, or could you teach me, or could you show me?
Yeah. Yeah, that's great advice coming from somebody who has such a successful business as you do and has grown so quick over, especially over the last couple of years as you have. It's not about you. It's about the team that you have, and it's about how you empower them. So really, really.
I worked for a gentleman years and years ago when I lived in Pennsylvania, and he always felt he's only as good as the people he surrounds himself with, his team. And it's 100% true. We wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for the people here.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, man. Great advice. So, we've talked about a lot of stuff in only a couple of minutes. But, one of the things, let's tie this back a little bit to one of the things that you are good at based on your old commercial background, and that's kind of the I guess the collection side of things, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's something that very specifically you mentioned that you're great at now. Give us a little bit of knowledge and some experience about that.
Well, I've touched on a little bit in the past what I did and had me shift gears from new construction, and I wouldn't recommend that to many folks, starting the bonfires on the front lawn or showing up with guns. What works well for us, and even where we are now, where we're doing smaller jobs and we're collecting payment there, where the guys are getting checks or credit cards. Credit cards, I found out the hard way. If somebody gives you a bad credit card number, if you don't have a swipe with you then where you swipe the card right on site, if you enter it and process it the next day, no matter how much a dollar amount is, you can't go after them as you would a typical check. If somebody writes you a bad check, $200 or more, it's a felony. It's not bad with a credit card. I learned that the hard way, so that's why everybody has a card swipes, number one. Number two, if somebody does give you a check, you can run to that person's bank and ask to deposit against their check and draw it off. And a lot of times the manager you ask for, they'll tell you, well, we can't give it to you because it's made out to a company. And I always tell them that's not a problem. Make out a certified check to Southern Trust Home Services. I'm fine with that. And I'll run it. A good example was last week. I had a lady there. It was about a $400 check she wrote for a dishwasher install, and it was bad. Came back bad. She wouldn't answer the certified letter. She wouldn't answer the knocks on the door, because I knocked on the door, introduced myself to the son and the husband, and they were PO'd. So I just started hitting her checking account every week. I'd go there on a Tuesday because I knew she took a deposit on a Tuesday of the month, and I didn't know which one. So every Tuesday I got to be friends with the manager, and they'd see me come, and they said, hold on a second, we'll just try it. Where finally they ran it, and it went through. So we got it for you. We'll give you a check for your made out to Southern Trust, and that worked well. Also, what I've done in the past, rather than hire an attorney, you go down to your general court's office, the clerk's office, and for $35 you file a warrant in debt. And the deputies will serve that in a homeowner. And a lot of times that got their attention enough where they did come up with the money. So just a couple things I learned over the years.
That's great, man, because I have a question after this as well. But those are great tips, because I think, a lot of even business owners can sometimes be afraid of collections, right? Like, they feel guilty about bugging people for money, especially if they don't have it. But I mean, we got to be fair to ourselves. You got to be fair to your team, your staff, your family.
Yeah. And you know what really, well, a good example is this lady, again, this one I just said, where, it wasn't a need where she had heat off, water off, anything like that. It was for hooking up a dishwasher. She wrote a bad check. She knew at that point in time she didn't have the money. So that's what really irritates me. Situation in the past, same thing. Lady wrote a check for an emergency. Power was off in the house. She wrote a check. We did. But she stopped it the very next day. So it came back and it cost me money. I went to the house, knocked on the door, and I heard a dog bark, and I knew they were home. So I kept beating on the door until they got tired of hearing the dog, and they came to the door. And sure enough, she stopped the check. We were out in an emergency call, got power on for them, got everything working, and here they go and do that. So I got creative, and I got my money there. I won't share what I did there, but I got paid.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I think that this is something that we've never really talked about, is collections. And I mean, give me some context, maybe in general in the industry, like how big of a problem is this? How big of an issue is collections?
Right now with what we do, thank God, with the residential service, we don't see the problems like we had in the past when we were dealing with builders. And that's where I had the problems with those builders where they would bounce checks on me, have me tied into a series of houses, bouncing those checks and quick start me another set of houses. So we had one builder, we had 5 houses out there that he had written us bad checks for. And by the time they came back from the bank, we were into them all. So he had us by the short hairs, basically. And then the other thing was the commercial accounts where Walmart's got to the point where they were out 120 days. Typically when we started with them was a 30-day turnaround, which was okay, but basically we're financing them. Mm-hmm. We're paying our labor, we're paying the material, and then they'll pay us. So when we got out to 120 days on invoices, I said, just screw that. I'm not going to finance a multi-million-dollar giant at my expense. My guys don't want to wait 90 days, 120 days. My suppliers don't want to wait 120 days. So I pulled the plug on them. And they acted like I lost God when I told them I was cutting them.
Wow.
But they did me a blessing. They were another driving force for me to get into residential service and collect payment that day.
So you got to do what's fair for you, and you can't be afraid of getting rid of somebody like a big giant like Walmart.
No. Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, same thing.
Wow. Awesome, man. Cool. Well, excellent information on collections. I really appreciate you sharing that. Before we started the interview today, you said something that I just want to hit on this before we wrap up here. But this ties in a little bit to, how I see you, always relaxed, always present, always focused with wherever you are right then. And we were talking a little bit about separation, home versus work separation. Talk to me just real briefly about that. Talk to me about the importance of it. Maybe when you didn't used to do it, and what's changed now that you are a lot better at that.
Well, years ago when I first got started in business for myself, I was working out of my home, and then gradually we built a building on the property by my house and worked out of that. It was about 1,700 square feet, and I have a very beautiful, patient wife because she put up with a lot. I'd think of an idea or have a question or concern, and I'd step out of my door and walk 2 steps and be in the office door, walk up to my office, and I'd be working nights or Saturday or Sunday. It didn't matter. And it just didn't have the separation in family and life. I found myself a lot of time, especially when our children were growing up, I missed a lot of events because I was working. Then I was working in the truck in addition to doing everything else. Where now now that we have a physical location, commercial location, we're in 8,000 square feet now, and I have a 30-minute ride. So I have that separation, which is nice. I have a family life, personal life. We have our date night on Friday and Saturday nights, and I try to turn my phone off and keep it off unless I know my general manager, who's a backup for everybody. If I know he's taking a day off or an evening off, then I'll have it. But I try to make it a point to have that separation now.
Awesome, man. Well, it sounds like it's working out well for you. Sounds like you have an amazing.
Wish I would have known that when my boys and my kids were younger.
And okay, so on that point, so for the guys that are running companies now that are maybe younger or newer or have a new family, what's your advice to them when they say, okay, well, I can't do that yet, but I will do it in the future. Mm-hmm. Any advice for that? Can they do it now?
Well, they could do it now, but I look at it, if I would have known back then what I know now, I would have done things totally different. My boys are 28 and 30. I don't get back the 2-year-old, the 4-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old age anymore. So when I was out putting services in on a Saturday when they were running ball games, I can't bring that time back. You could always be out there working. You could work around the schedules. If I would have known more, I would have scheduled it differently. If the boys had games or soccer, I would have moved it around and been there for that.
Awesome, man.
I just tell people, and I tell young guys, be there for the kids. Be there for the kids, and I try to make it a point with our guys when they're on call. If their children have a game, I don't have a problem if there's coverage. Talk to one of the other guys in HVAC or whatever your trade is, and just flip-flop your Saturday or Sunday, whatever the game is. Be there for your kids. And then always make time for your wife. Always have that date night. Always wine and diner. Business.
That's huge, man. That's Ted. That's killer advice, man. Thank you for sharing that with us.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Cool. So Ted, this was awesome today, man. I hope everybody watching got some good value out of this. Share with us how people can find you and connect with you if they're interested, want to talk more, want to learn more.
They can go to our website, southerntrusthomeservices.com. My email is askthepro@southernstateservice.com, or even in the office, 540-343-4348. Won't share my cell phone because I want to have my wife time.
Awesome, man. I love it.
But I'm open if anybody wants to give me a call.
Cool. So
email me anything.
Excellent. Ted, thank you so much for coming on today. For everybody watching, Ted Puzio, yeah, absolutely. Ted Puzio, Southern Trust Home Services, serving Roanoke, Virginia. Ted dropped a lot of awesome knowledge on us today in just a few short minutes. So thanks for watching. But some of the things that I got out of this today, as far as collections go, Ted, you shared really good information about credit cards, things that most people don't know about credit cards, how to deal with bounced checks. And some other good information about just how to collect from people. And, I got my little notes right here. The coolest thing, the really specific information about collections and stuff, that's fantastic. I think everybody's business owner should know that. But really one of the biggest things that I got is the separation from, home and work, and that you shared your past experiences and some of the things that, that you would have done differently. And I think that's just invaluable. So for anybody out there that's in a position of, having young kids, having a family, maybe their family life isn't fantastic or perfect right now, listen to Ted. He's somebody that's been there, and he has the knowledge to look back and say, here's what I would have done differently. And so I encourage everybody to pay really close attention to that. Spend time with your family, spend time with your wife if you have one, spend time with your husband, whatever that is. But, don't miss out on the little things in life just to work. As Ted said it, you can work anytime. So thank you again for watching this episode of Home Service Success TV. I appreciate it. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.